Okay, good morning. Here we are. We're gonna continue our meditation. Just adjust this. Okay, we'll focus on the feet of Jesus. Jesus, I trust in you. So today is day 32 from the book of Michael Gately, 33 Days to Merciful Love. So we are getting close to 33 days, of course. So day 32, the darkness. 3 words summarize our week of going into darkness. 1, relate. 2, see. 3, smile. Relate. Saint Therese does not always make a good first impression. In fact, I've often heard that when people first met her in her writings, they think, I cannot relate to her. They say, what do I have in common with a girl who grew up in a sheltered home, lived in a cloister convent, and died at age 24 years old? But then, as they get to know her more, they'll often say, I relate to her more than to any other saint. So why do people relate so much to someone who, on the surface, seems difficult to relate to? I think it's because even though she apparently never committed a mortal sin, she was absolutely convinced that God had not sheltered her from any early age. She would have been a big sinner if God did not shelter her. And we believe her. We believe her particularly when she tells us that even if she had been a big sinner than we are, even if she had committed all the sins that could have been committed, she said, I would go, my heart broken with sorrow, and throw myself into Jesus' arms, for I know how much he loves the prodigal child who returns to him. Somehow we relate to all that, or at least we want to relate. We relate to Saint Therese because she is real, because she is not a plaster statue high on a pedestal. In fact, she gets the sense that she's right down here in the grittiness of ordinary life with the rest of us. Speaking of ordinary life, we can also relate to Therese's ordinaries. During her life, she was not famous or well known. Indeed, her time in the convent truly had a hidden life, full of the daily darkness we all experience. Yes, she's a great saint, but her standout sanctity is that she did little things with great love. Yes, in the midst of an ordinary, mundane life, she had extraordinary faith, hope, and love that are accessible to all of us. As she herself put it, why would this treasure not be yours? ? Finally, we relate to Saint Therese double darkness. In other words, like most of us, she not only knew herself to be weak and imperfect, more on that in the next point, we'll talk about it, but she knew what it was like to live in an age of secularism and doubt. And she knew it not because she actually lived in that world as a cloistered nun. She did not, but rather because the Lord allowed her to feel that God does not exist and that there isn't a heaven. That was her night of faith. Still in the midst of such darkness, she clung to the Lord with faith, hope, and love, and encourages us to do the same. Second point is see. Therese solves the mystery as to why the great saints see themselves as great sinners. She also solves the mystery as to why so many sinners are often so blind to the fact that they are sinners. It has to do with the reality of God's love, his burning, passionately infinite love, because great saints clearly see this reality. They are not blind to their sins, because people who do not think they are sinners don't clearly see the reality of God's love. They are blind to their sins. But if they did see the reality of his love, their eyes would be opened to their sinfulness. To put it differently, Therese teaches us that when we clearly see the reality of God's passionate love for us, It makes us realize we cannot compete with Him. It reveals that when we compare God's infinite love for us with our own pitiful love for Him, our love is really nothing. But Therese does not leave us hanging. She tells us that God's love for us is so great that He allows us to borrow His own love. Now, according to Saint Therese, we would not fully borrow the Lord's perfect love until we get to heaven. By heaven, I mean both heaven, where we go when we die, and heaven on earth when we go on Sunday. Of course, reading that latter heaven, I'm talking about the Mass, which is where we love God. We can love God the Father through, with, and in the Son's own perfect love, and even see that love in the sacrament of the Eucharist. The third point is smile. Remember Therese's smile at her death. Let it be a sign for you. As Abraham had the stars and Mary had the words of Elizabeth, you have Therese's smile. So in times of darkness, when you're tempted to discouragement because of your own weakness, poverty, and sin, remember that smile. In times of darkness, when you're tempted to think that God and heaven do not exist, remember that smile. In times of darkness, when you are tempted to think there is no way you can become a saint, remember that smile. And actually, Therese is smiling at you now with her prayers. She's preparing your heart to accept the gift of the offering to merciful love. She's telling you not to be afraid. She's saying, I do not regret having offered myself to love, and neither will you. So get ready. The day of your offering is just around the corner. All that rejected mercy will soon be yours, so do not forget to smile. Today's prayer. Spend the day pondering the offering to merciful love as it is summarized in these three words: relate, see, and smile. Well, we'll see you tomorrow, day 33.